Hello, you're watching Gravitas. I'm Shreya Upadhyay. Let's begin. Tonight, our big focus is on the battlefield. USS Gerald R Ford will soon be out of West Asian waters, while Iran has been warning of a new weapon that it will reveal. Who has the edge? Will there be fresh strikes? We get you all the action. And amid this uncertainty, oil prices have soared massively once again. Prices have reached their highest since 2022, raising concerns about the deepening fuel crises around the world. And here in India, all eyes are on Thalapathy Vijay. Will he be Tamil Nadu's next MGR, or the exit polls will be proven wrong? Well, poll pundits have their bets going on. The world's largest aircraft carrier is heading home after a historic and high-stakes deployment in West Asia. The USS Gerald R Ford is set to return to its home port in Virginia after spending more than 300 days at sea. Now, the Gerald Ford's recent deployment, remember, has been the longest for a U.S. carrier since the Vietnam War era. The carrier has been at the heart of America's two crucial escalating regional conflicts, including military actions linked to Iran and a high-profile operation involving the capture of Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro, who now sits in an American prison. Now, the Ford's return, remember, comes at a time when U.S. naval presence in West Asia has been exceptionally high. Just last week, the USS George H.W. Bush had arrived in the region, joining the USS Abraham Lincoln, which has been deployed since January this year. This temporarily brought the number of American aircraft carriers in the region to 3. Now, this level of deployment has not been seen since the 2003 Iraq conflict. Earlier this month, the USS Gerald R Ford surpassed a major milestone. It broke the record for the longest post-Vietnam deployment. On its 295th day at sea, it exceeded the previous record that was set in 2020 by the Abraham Lincoln during the COVID-19 pandemic. This achievement highlights operational endurance of the American warship. Simultaneously, it has also raised concerns about the toll on the service members and the strain on the carrier's military equipment, especially after the carrier previously suffered a fire incident that forced it to leave the Mediterranean waters to a NATO base in Greece for further repairs. Meanwhile, Iran's Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei has issued a new written statement that was read on Iran's state television. He claimed that Washington has suffered a disgraceful defeat in this war. Mojtaba has also declared that Iran will continue to protect its nuclear assets even as Trump's Hormuz blockade remains in place. America's tensions with Iran remain sharp at the moment. Iranian Naval Commander Rear Admiral Shahram Irani has issued a strong warning. He claims that a new weapon he says adversaries will deeply fear will soon be revealed. Now, Iran has also asserted that Iranian forces carried out multiple missile strikes against the USS Abraham Lincoln and temporarily disrupted its ability to conduct air operations. According to Iran, its armed forces have launched over 100 waves of retaliatory strikes across the region since hostilities escalated in late February. With a fragile ceasefire in place between the two adversaries, the stage for further conflict has been evolving. The attention now shifts to Washington, where President Donald Trump is expected to receive a critical briefing from the U.S. Central Command Chief Brad Cooper. Reports suggest that a range of military operations are under consideration, including a short and powerful series of strikes targeting Iranian infrastructure. There's a possibility of deploying special forces operation to secure highly enriched uranium stockpiles as well. Stopping Iran's nuclear program has been at the core of Trump's and Netanyahu's war games in Iran. While airstrikes and long-range attacks can damage facilities, destroying or removing Iran's nuclear stockpile would likely require a full-scale ground invasion. With more than 50,000 troops already present across West Asia and reports of 82nd Airborne slated to join the force, Washington's intention of putting boots on the ground is now evident. But such an operation would not only face Iran's military fury, its natural defenses as well will have to be faced by American forces. Let's quickly break this down for you. The Zagros Mountains, remember, which stretch over 1,500 kilometers across western Iran, create a natural wall that shields the country from land invasions from Iraq and Turkey. The range extends towards the southern coast near Bandar Abbas, adding an extra layer of defense. The Alborz Mountains, as you can see in the map, run along the southern coast of the Caspian Sea. They stretch about 900 kilometers. This range forms a barrier between the Caspian coast and central Iran, making any advance through northern Iran a complex and dangerous task. Another plan expected to be shared with Trump is focused on taking over part of the Strait of Hormuz to reopen it to commercial shipping. But of course, such an operation will also require more extensive naval deployment in addition to the boots on ground. Iran also, remember, controls key islands in the Persian Gulf and the Hormuz, which provide strategic advantages. The Karg Island, which is located 25 kilometers off the coast, is an oil export hub with flat terrain, but easy to defend using missiles, artillery and drones. Abu Musa, Greater and Lesser Tunb are close to the UAE coast and they're critical shipping lanes. They allow Iran to take control of, tanker movement into the Hormuz. These islands are heavily fortified, but small size and limited natural cover make invasion difficult. Finally, you've got the Hormuz Island Group, which includes Qeshm, Hormuz and Larak, which sit at the gateway of the Strait of Hormuz. Control over these islands gives Iran the leverage over global oil shipping lanes, and their proximity to the mainland makes offensive operations extremely risky. At the same time, Donald Trump has raised questions about the U.S. military footprint in Europe as well. Remember, he's been criticizing NATO allies for not contributing more naval support for his Iran campaign. Trump has now indicated that his administration is considering reducing troop levels in Germany. As per reports from the U.S. Defense Manpower Data Center, currently more than 68,000 American troops are stationed across Europe, with over 36,400 based in Germany. As Israel ramps up attacks against Hezbollah in Lebanon amid a fragile truce, U.S. President Trump has now urged Israel to show restraint, telling Israel's Prime Minister that Israel should only carry out surgical action and avoid a full resumption of the war. In an interview with Axios, Trump made it clear that targeted action, not widespread destruction, is what he expects from Israel now. In this interview, Trump said, and I quote him here, "I told Netanyahu he has got to do it more surgically, not knock down buildings. He can't do it. It is too terrible and makes Israel look bad." But on the ground, the reality appears to be far more complicated. The Israeli military claims that it has carried out over 5,000 strikes against Hezbollah targets since the war started on the 2nd of March, hitting weapons depots, command centers, and military infrastructure. But here lies the bigger question. What exactly is left for Israel to carry out surgical strikes upon? South Lebanon has already been heavily bombarded. Israel occupies at least 55 Lebanese towns and villages in South Lebanon. In fact, as per the Lebanese government, more than 50,000 housing units have been damaged or destroyed in this war. At least 9 major bridges linking South Lebanon to the rest of the country have been struck by Israel. And remember, Israel has expanded operations to eastern Lebanon as well, just recently launching strikes in the Bekaa Valley. So where does the surgical campaign go next? And more importantly, how surgical will it really be? Remember, following its September 2024 offensive, a 12-day operation in which Israel had claimed it wiped out much of Hezbollah's top leadership, including the longtime chief Hassan Nasrallah, and dealt a serious blow to its military network. The reality is that Hezbollah has still not collapsed. In fact, it is far from it. Just take a look at these visuals. The group continues to launch drone strikes against Israeli forces. If Hezbollah remains operational and capable, a critical question then arises. Have the Israeli strikes truly achieved their objective, or is Hezbollah simply too strong, too decentralized, to be dismantled through air power alone? Because Hezbollah has been using heavy artillery-style shelling against Israel, leading to casualties in Israel's defense forces. Visuals released by Hezbollah show artillery guns in active use, reflecting both Hezbollah's range and heavy combat capability. Despite incurring heavy damages, Hezbollah's arsenal still reportedly includes thousands of rockets, precision-guided missiles, drones, and now visible artillery units, and most importantly, backed by thousands of battle-hardened fighting force. And then there is the most pertinent question of them all. How does Israel distinguish between a Hezbollah operative and an ordinary Lebanese civilian? With over 2,500 casualties reported in Lebanon since the war started in March, can every single fatality be classified as an Hezbollah operative? Or is the cost of these strikes simply being paid by civilians who are caught in the crossfire? All right, moving on. A major shift appears to be underway in the United States. New polling data now points to a growing wave of anger and unease directed at Israel, cutting across age groups, but more prominent among younger Americans. The latest Harvard Capps Harris poll shows that overall 74% Americans say that they support Israel over Hamas. But the breakdown of these numbers by age group tell a larger and a different story. Among the Americans aged between 18 and 24, just 54% back Israel. In the 25 to 34 age group, the support stands at 60%. Compare that with older Americans, where support for Israel climbs to 89% among those who are 65 and above. At the same time, a recent survey from the Pew Research Center shows a broader shift in public sentiment toward Israel. As per the Pew poll, 6 in 10 Americans now say that they view Israel unfavorably, an increase of 20 percentage points since 2022. While nearly one-third of those respondents describe their view as very unfavorable, a figure that has more than tripled over the past 4 years. The surveys come amid heightened tensions in West Asia and add to the growing data showing that sympathy in America is increasingly tilting toward Palestinians. So the message from these polls is perhaps clear. Support for Israel in the United States is no longer uniform. And well, let's talk about the big ripple effect of this entire war. The top question that is doing the rounds in global markets this week is, if oil prices are above $120 per barrel, U.S. gas prices have surged to the highest since August 2022, and the Iran war isn't over yet, why are the stocks near record highs? Let's put that in context. On Thursday this week, benchmark Brent crude extended gains to the highest since 2022, marking over 20% gains for the week so far. It surged past $120 per barrel on Thursday as President Trump rejected Iran's Hormuz proposal. Analysts say that Brent could possibly revisit the 2020 highs of over $140 per barrel if the Hormuz blockade continues. Energy and other supplies through the critical Strait of Hormuz are at a standstill. The war has caused the largest oil supply disruption in history, with roughly 12 million barrels per day removed from the global market. Over 500 million barrels of crude were lost in just 50 days, creating a $50 billion revenue shortfall. That has led to fuel rationing across much of Africa and Asia on the fears of a global economic slowdown. And as a result, the Indian rupee hit a fresh low of 95.27 versus the dollar. US gas prices have spiked 42% since the start of this war, marking the biggest surge that has been seen in 30 years. However, Wall Street stocks have been on a tear since hitting a low on the 30th of March. The S&P 500 has recovered about 10% from its war low, with the market actively pricing out earlier fears of severe war. Benchmarks have taken only 3 weeks to rise from their lows to reach new record highs, essentially recovering all war fuel losses by mid-April. The real question is, why? Well, the answer is simple. The artificial intelligence revolution has simply become so large that investors are now viewing everything else as noise at the moment. The AI narrative has grown even during the war, and as broader market sell-off last month swept tech giants like Nvidia and Alphabet lower, these stocks reached their cheapest valuation level since 2019. Wednesday's earnings reports from Alphabet, Amazon, Meta, and Microsoft all confirmed the AI rhetoric. In fact, Wall Street's so-called Magnificent Seven firms are set to invest over $600 billion in AI this year alone. At the March 30th low, remember, the S&P 500 tech index was trading at just a 4% forward price to earnings premium to the benchmark. That is the lowest and cheapest since January of 2019. Forward price to earnings ratio is a measure to understand the stock's valuation as compared to predicted earnings. The war-led sell-off made tech stocks cheaper than the average S&P 500 stock for the first time since 2017. For example, Nvidia is now trading at just a 26 times forward price to earnings multiple, even as it is back near record highs. By comparison, Walmart is at 43 times and Costco at 46 times. So we're now in the biggest technological revolution of modern history, and even $100 oil and rate cuts priced out until 2027 are unable to derail this rally. Many investors had anticipated a much sharper sell-off, and as this did not happen, money has moved back rapidly into the market to chase the rally. While oil prices are set to rise further from the Iran-US stalemate, current market behavior reflects a belief in technological growth overriding geopolitical risks. At least that is the short-term view. While volatility is expected to remain, bets show the path of at least resistance for stocks is more to the upside. But the stock rally's test, it will, remember, come from how the Dow Jones Index performs. As per analysis by LSEG, a new bullish trend in the stock market must be confirmed by both the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the Dow Jones Transportation Average to be durable. So far, it's an open question. The Dow Jones Index hasn't made a record closing high since February 10th, before the start of the war. For the bull market to be confirmed under the Dow theory, the industrials must surpass their February peak very soon. All right, shifting our focus now, the double stabbing in London, which the UK police declared as a terror incident, as well as the recent rise in anti-Semitic incidents in UK, are now raising several questions about who is truly behind these attacks. A shadowy group with unclear origins is gaining focus. Our next report gets you all the details.
British police classified a double stabbing in London's Golders Green as a terror incident, but investigators remain cautious about claims made by a little-known terror cell called Harakat Ashab al-Yamin al-Islamiyah, which translates as the Islamic Movement of the People of the Right Hand. The group has repeatedly taken responsibility for attacks targeting Jewish communities across Europe since the outbreak of the Iran war. It surfaced soon after the war began, leaving intelligence agencies with limited information about its structure and operations. The Israeli government claims the outfit operates with backing from the Islamic Revolutionary Guards, allegedly using it to carry out strikes in Europe. Early claims made by the group appeared credible. It shared videos on Telegram that suggested prior knowledge of attacks, But experts also suspect the group could be exaggerating its reach by claiming responsibility for unrelated acts. Surveillance footage shows the stabbing unfolding near a bus stop in London's Golders Green, an area with a large Jewish population. Police body cam video captures police officers using tasers to detain the suspect. The incident occurred close to the site of a recent arson attack also claimed by Ashab al-Yamin on 4 Jewish community ambulances. The same group has also claimed attempted attacks on a synagogue and a television news channel tied to Iranian dissidents in London. And experts remain divided about the group's role behind these attacks. Some view it as a coordinated Iran-backed network, while others see inconsistencies that raise doubts about its credibility and intent. For instance, the group mostly targets countries not directly involved in the Iran-US war, while the group's statements also often use pro-Zionist terminology. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
The narrative war between the United States and Iran is now heating up. Both sides are engaging in a battle of words to show they have the leverage against the other. President Donald Trump claims that Iran is racing against time before its oil storage hits a breaking point. And in response, Ghalibaf, the Iranian parliament speaker, said that the American plan is a losing strategy, and he's warned of crude surging back to 2022 highs of $140 a barrel. President Trump rejected Iran's proposal to open the Strait of Hormuz. He said that Iran's oil storage and pipelines are getting close to exploding because the Islamic Republic can't export oil due to the U.S. Hormuz blockade. The president sees continuing the U.S. blockade of Iranian ships in the strait as his primary source of leverage in this war at the moment. Trump has claimed that America has all the cards and can wait out Iran. Now, the blockade of Iranian vessels in Hormuz is America's plan to bleed the Islamic Republic economically. On Monday, the U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent had warned that Iran might soon reach its crude oil storage capacity. He said, and I quote, "While the surviving IRGC leaders are trapped like drowning rats in a sewage pipe, Iran's creaking oil industry is starting to shut in production thanks to the U.S. blockade. Pumping will soon collapse, gasoline shortages in Iran next." Now, in response to Trump and Bessent, Ghalibaf posted this: 3 days in, no well exploded. We could extend to 30 and live stream the well here. That was the kind of junk advice the US admin gets from people like Bessent, who also pushed the blockade theory and cranked oil up to $120+. Next stop, oil at $140. The issue isn't the theory, it's the mindset. And before Bessent's remarks on Monday, Iran's parliament speaker Mohammad Baghir Ghalibaf in a cryptic message said, although Trump and his chorus-singing administration claim they have all the cards, Iran holds quite a leverage as well. In a post, Ghalibaf threatened with a symbolic message asserting that Iran has significant leverage to disrupt global energy markets, countering American pressure. In fact, he used a mathematical formula that showed Iran's potential supply disruption tools versus US demand-side management capabilities. On the one hand, Ghalibaf's threat on energy crisis seems quite real. The over 2 months long West Asia conflict has pushed crude to above $120 per barrel already, which is the highest since the Ukraine crisis of 2022. Analysts also align with Ghalibaf and bet on oil surging to the 2022 highs of above $140 as soon as this week. On the other hand, America's leverage claims seem to be playing out too. Remember, data from Kepler Analytics and Bloomberg showed that Iran is indeed facing storage capacity risks. The analysis showed that Iran's storage capacity can actually accommodate only about 15 to 25 million further barrels of oil. Net flows are currently running between 1 and 1.5 million barrels per day. At that rate, the storage is expected to be filled up in 12 to 25 days. However, Iran has turned to aging tankers as a stopgap. Iran has reportedly revived its 30-year-old tanker, Nasha, to store excess oil at sea. But the shortage of space to store oil is a major issue for Iran. Remember, the country would have to begin shutting its wells. However, shutting down oil production is a complex and often irreversible process, particularly its water injection fields. So the real question is, what can Iran actually do if it runs out of storage space? New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani has called on King Charles III to return the Kohinoor diamond to India during the British monarch's visit to the United States. The remark has now reignited the long-standing debate over its colonial past. We get you more details in our special report.
New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani has stirred a long-running international debate during King Charles III's visit to the United States.
So you haven't thought about anything you might say if you say hello to him and he stops to chat?
You know, if I was to speak to the king separately from that, I would probably encourage him to return the Kohinoor diamond.
The call for return priceless Kohinoor came just hours before the mayor was preparing to meet the British monarch at a somber 9/11 memorial event. Currently housed in the Tower of London, the 106-carat diamond is part of Britain's crown jewels and is set in the crown of late Queen Elizabeth. The Kohinoor means mountain of light in Persian and has been the subject of conquest and intrigue for centuries, passing through the hands of Mughal princes, Iranian warriors, Afghan rulers, and Punjabi Maharajas. The stone was originally found in India's Golconda mines and measured 186 carats when it was eventually handed to the British in 1849 under a treaty with the then Kingdom of Punjab after the Anglo-Sikh War. India has repeatedly called for its return, while other countries including Afghanistan, Iran, and Pakistan have also staked claim in the past. In a related development in view of the colonial extraction, authorities in New York have returned 657 antiquities to India that are collectively valued at nearly $14 million. This came after multiple investigations into international trafficking networks. Among them is a rare bronze statue of Avalokiteshvara and a sandstone idol of Lord Ganesha, which were looted from India decades ago and recovered through international probe.
And let's tell you what's coming up on the other side of Gravitas. The Supreme Court of India has flagged concerns about courts intervening in religious matters. They were hearing the Sabrimala temple entry case. We get you the details. And Iranian officials will have to miss the pre-FIFA World Cup meetings as they have been banned from entering Canada. Well, let's get you all about that crucial and very interesting aspect that has emerged out of Tamil Nadu's elections. Actor-politician Vijay's poll debut has been the most interesting talking point in Tamil Nadu's political landscape at the moment. Riding on Vijay's cinema fame earned over 3 decades, his TVK party's candidates contested in all 234 seats in Tamil Nadu. In fact, Vijay himself is in the fray from 2 constituencies, Perambur in Chennai and Trichy East, with the state assembly election results now due on the 4th of May. The million-dollar question is whether Vijay could be king or kingmaker in his debut. Now, most exit polls predict that the DMK led by MK Stalin will continue in power. DMK winning successive polls in Tamil Nadu is a record in itself. Remember, since the 1970s, the DMK has not won 2 back-to-back terms. If the Stalin-led DMK manages to pull off this victory, it would be meaning a sustained dream run for the Dravidian party. The DMK-led coalition swept the 2019 parliamentary polls in Tamil Nadu as well. They won the state polls in 2021 and swept the parliamentary elections in 2024 as well. However, there is one exit poll by Axis My India that goes against all the others. That one predicts that Vijay's party, TVK, could emerge with the most number of seats, potentially upsetting the ruling DMK's fortunes. Can Vijay single-handedly disrupt Tamil Nadu's political arena? Well, that has been dominated by the DMK and the AIA-DMK for over 5 decades. Can Vijay be the next MG Ramachandran? Well, MG Ramachandran, or MGR, who's a former 3-time Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, began his film career in the 1930s and he shot to fame in the late 1940s. He carefully cultivated his image as a savior of the poor and the marginalized. Then in 1953, MGR joined the DMK. He used his film career and popularity to attain stardom in politics as well. He was a major factor in the DMK's first electoral victory in 1967. After 2 decades of meteoric rise in the DMK, MGR broke away and founded the AIA-DMK in 1972, owing to ideological differences with the DMK leadership of the time. MGR led the AIA-DMK to victory in 1997, 1980 and 1985 assembly elections. He was known for focusing on the poor, the women and children through social welfare initiatives. He held the Chief Minister's post from 1977 until his death in 1987. While MGR did have a cinema background that he converted to political fame, remember that MGR was not just any actor who forayed into politics. By blending cinema in his political career, MGR had gained immense political experience and popularity during his 2 decades in the DMK, which was then the emerging political force in Tamil Nadu. It was after this that he started his own party. Now, put this in contrast to the TVK and Vijay. Vijay has jumped straight into the political fray with no prior political experience or an established party machinery. Vijay is betting big on his own popularity, his ability to attract the youth and women vote, and the voters who are fatigued by the 2 major Dravidian parties of the state. The 51-year-old actor and politician could potentially become a major political force in Tamil Nadu. Now, despite Vijay's popularity, being the next MGR is widely regarded as a very high bar. All of this will depend on the final numbers that emerge after vote counting on the 4th of May. All right, moving on, the fight against Mexico's drug cartels has entered a new phase, with the U.S. pushing for the extradition of sitting Mexican Governor Ruben Roca Moya, who has been indicted by an American court on charges of drug trafficking. The U.S. Department of Justice has alleged that Moya was elected governor of the Sinaloa state in 2021 with the help of the Sinaloa cartel, who allegedly kidnapped and intimidated his rivals. He has been accused of allowing Los Chapitos, the 4 sons of this cartel's former leader El Chapo, to operate with impunity. As per the US, he promised to protect them even though they illegally transported massive quantities of drugs to America, also facing charges of possessing machine guns and destructive devices. He can be sentenced to life in prison if he's convicted of all the charges. On the other hand, the Sinaloa governor rejected these accusations as bereft of any truth and dubbed it as a violation of Mexico's sovereignty. However, Mexico announced a probe into this matter to ascertain whether there is a legal basis for his arrest and possible extradition to America.
The Office of the Attorney General will launch an investigation to gather all necessary information to determine whether there is evidence establishing the likelihood that the charges brought by U.S. authorities have a legal basis for requesting arrest warrants.
Now let's take a closer look at the Sinaloa cartel. It was founded by Joaquin El Chapo Guzman in the 1990s. It rose in prominence quickly, controlling nearly 60% of Mexico's drug trade at its peak. Despite El Chapo's arrest and the extradition to the US in 2017, the cartel remains a formidable force and now split between Los Chapitos and factions that are loyal to El Mayo Zambada. It is among the 8 South American crime groups that are designated as terror organizations by the US. Amid increasing pressure from the US president over the last few months, Mexico has been cracking down on drug cartels. In February, Jalisco New Generation cartel's leader, El Mencho, was killed in a military operation. This led to considerable violence in Mexico, resulting in the death of at least 73 people. Earlier this week, the drug mafia received another blow as Mexican special forces arrested drug lord Odias Flores Silva, also known as El Jardinero, in an operation involving over 500 troops, 6 helicopters, and several planes. He was captured after 19 months of surveillance. The charges against Ruben Roca Moya also pose a political conundrum for the Mexican president, Claudia Sheinbaum, as he also, remember, belongs to the ruling Morena party. Right, let's shift our focus now to India. On the 10th day of the hearing in the Sabrimala reference case, the Supreme Court of India has flagged a key risk. It has cautioned that judicial intervention in purely religious practices could lead to annihilation of a religion and result in dangerous situations. A 9-judge constitution bench headed by the Chief Justice of India, Suryakant, has been hearing issues pertaining to discrimination against women across religions. This reference originated from a series of review petitions challenging the SC's 2018 verdict, allowing the entry of women of all ages into Kerala's Sabrimala temple. During the hearing, senior advocate Indira Jaising argued that there was no theological bar on women entering any public temple. She appeared for 2 women who tried to enter the Sabrimala temple after the Supreme Court's verdict. However, Justice M.M. Sundaresh disagreed with her line of argument. He questioned how the apex court can enforce individual rights when it violates fundamental rights of others. He also observed that if every person goes and objects to certain religious practices, it will be disastrous for the religion itself. Agreeing with him, Justice B.V. Nagaratna said that this can lead to the annihilation of the religion, and the Supreme Court will not be party to this. According to her, it's been argued that the religion cannot be hollowed out in the name of social reform. India's apex court, in fact, also examined whether the right to enter a place of worship is limited to believers alone. Justice Ehsanuddin Amanullah raised a key question. He asked Indira Jaising that if a person accepts belief in a deity, can he or she reject the practices associated with it? Now, why is this case so vital? Its judgment may also have an impact on other pending cases, such as the entry of Muslim women into mosques, former communication of Parsi women married to non-Parsis, and the practice of female genital mutilation in the Dawoodi Bohra community. Google has pulled out of a major US Pentagon AI drone swarm project just weeks after being selected as one of the successful submissions. According to a Bloomberg report, this move comes amid an internal ethics review and growing tensions inside Silicon Valley over military use of AI. Google withdrew from a $100 million US defense challenge that was aimed at developing voice-controlled autonomous drone swarms, a system designed to let commanders direct multiple drones using simple spoken commands. The report stated that the company notified the Pentagon on the February 11th that it would no longer participate, citing a lack of resources, though records suggest an internal ethics review also played a role in this. The decision prompted disappointment among some Google AI staff who was involved in the project, while hundreds of researchers have previously expressed concerns about their technology being used in classified military work. The drone initiative is being led by U.S. Special Operations Command and the Defense Innovation Unit, and it is part of a broader push to integrate AI into future battlefield systems. Several tech companies, including OpenAI, Palantir Technologies, and xAI, have all been selected to take part. The program envisages stages including target recognition and eventual launch to termination capability, raising questions over how far autonomous decision-making could go in combat systems. A key point of tension in the industry has also been the role of Anthropic, which was not selected for this particular competition. The company has previously drawn a line against fully autonomous weapons. Although it has argued its submission did not really cross those internal red lines, the withdrawal highlights a wider split between tech firms and the Pentagon over the use of AI in potentially lethal systems. After years of devastating drought, there is renewed hope in Iraq's ancient marshlands. Seasonal rains have begun to refill the Huwazeh marshes as part of the historic Mesopotamian ecosystem between the Tigris River and the Euphrates River. Once nearly dry, these wetlands are now showing signs of life once again. Take a look.
A fishing boat cuts through the calm waters of the Huwazeh marshes, a scene that had nearly disappeared after years of drought. Today, water has returned, spreading across large parts of the marshland. Patches of greenery are reappearing, buffaloes are back in the water, and birds once again fill the sky. These marshes are part of the ancient Mesopotamian landscape between the Tigris River and Euphrates River. They are often linked to the legendary Garden of Eden and have sustained life for thousands of years. Climate change and water shortages laced with upstream dams left large parts of the wetlands dry and barren in recent years. But after a decent rainfall this winter, the reservoirs along the Tigris are nearly full once again. Local residents are beginning to hope again. Fishermen waters return could bring back their livelihood, restoring a way of life that was fast disappearing.
Life will return, along with the fish and livestock, and people will feel their homeland and future restored because their livelihood is in the marshes. We hope the Iraqi government will take care of the people and pay more attention to the marshes.
Activists say as much as 85% of the marshland is now submerged, but water levels still need to increase further. The return of water has brought back more than just greenery. It has restored hope in one of the world's oldest and most fragile ecosystems.
Moving on, OpenAI and its CEO Sam Altman are facing legal action from families of victims in one of Canada's deadliest mass shootings, with lawsuits alleging that the company ignored early warnings from its own systems and failed to inform the authorities about a potential threat linked to ChatGPT months before the attack. The lawsuits filed in a U.S. federal court in California claim OpenAI flagged conversations linked to the shooter as early as June 2025. With its safety team reporting a credible and imminent threat of real-world violence. But according to the complaints, OpenAI leadership, including Sam Altman, overruled recommendations to inform law enforcement and instead only deactivated the account.
We now know, because of whistleblowers, that OpenAI had flagged the account as being dangerous, as being an account where the shooter was discussing gun violence. 12 people within the company were jumping up and down saying we need to tell the authorities. And the leadership at OpenAI said, no, we need to keep this quiet.
The lawsuits allege the shooter was then able to create a new account and continue using ChatGPT to plan the attack. The February 2026 shooting in Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia, left 9 people dead, including several children, after the 18-year-old gunwoman killed family members before opening fire at a school. Families claim OpenAI's failure to act may have prevented authorities who had previously flagged the shooter from intervening in time. They also alleged that the company prioritized user privacy and business interests, including a potential IPO over public safety. OpenAI has called this incident a tragedy and said that it has a zero-tolerance policy for violence, adding that it has since strengthened safeguards and threat detection systems. Sam Altman has issued a public apology as well, admitting the company should have alerted law enforcement. The lawsuits seek damages and demand major changes to OpenAI's safety protocols, including mandatory reporting of credible threats. The case could set a precedent on how AI companies handle real-world threats, as courts now examine whether failure to act on warning signs can make tech firms liable for violence linked to their platforms. Heart-related diseases are emerging as India's major health challenge. Well, a latest survey conducted by the Government of India shows how cardiovascular diseases, which includes hypertension and heart ailments, have increased almost 3 times in the last 7 years. We get you more details in this next report.
A latest government survey on the health sector in India has laid bare a new health challenge. Heart-related diseases per a population of 100,000 have gone up from nearly 1,300 in 2017-18 to over 3,800 in 2025. This is approximately a threefold increase. As per data collected in December 2025, cardiovascular diseases accounted for the highest share of ailments recorded per 100,000 persons. Out of 15,000 ailments, over 3,800 cases pertain to heart-related diseases. Cardiologists link the rise of heart disease cases in India to sedentary lifestyle.
One of the major reasons why these diseases is being picked up is increasing health awareness among people. The second important thing is that the risk factors are multiplying. People are now enjoying life more than they ever did. There's lack of physical exercise, the smoking rate has gone up, and the stress has gone up. So some compounding factors, socioeconomic factors, have led to this.
While those aged 60 and above accounted for highest percentage of hospitalizations pertaining to heart-related diseases in 2025, young people are also increasingly vulnerable. For instance, 7.3% in the 30 to 44 age group and 13.9% in the 45 to 59 age group were hospitalized with cardiovascular disease. Heart disease is also among the most costly ailments in terms of hospitalization expenses. As per the report, treatment of heart-related ailments cost an average of over 69,000 rupees in urban areas, which is only lower than cancer and kidney failure. But it is more expensive than other ailments like infections and blood diseases. A similar pattern is observed in rural areas, although the treatment cost is relatively lower. Now, is there a way to reduce the risk of developing heart disease? The answer is a resounding yes.
Training of prevention has to start in schools through exercise, food intake, control of risk factors like obesity are very important for this. So smoking has to have many big campaigns to show that smoking and link of heart disease is real, and heart attacks in young, the commonest risk factor is smoking.
While it remains to be seen whether this report's findings will result in policy tweaks, it is clear that small lifestyle changes can bring a huge change in our lives. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Shifting our focus now, Jasprit Bumrah's season has gone from bad to worse for the Mumbai Indians. Bumrah's failed to take a wicket against the Sunrisers Hyderabad on Wednesday and conceded 54 runs in his 4 overs. Bumrah, who was on song in the 2026 T20 World Cup, has just 2 wickets from 8 games this IPL season. The right-arm seamer went wicketless and conceded over 50 runs in Mumbai Indians' latest outing against Hyderabad. That is an economy rate of 13.5. Bumrah has been on a downward spiral this season. His decline is evident, and the proof is right there on your screens. While it's also important, remember to note that Jasprit Bumrah's career stats have been outstanding so far, and his standards are indeed very high. But this season, the fear factor has disappeared, and although this might just be a rough patch for the best bowler in the world, batters are taking him on, which might inspire players on the international circuit as well.
Even a good ball scores for a 6. If you say Bumrah bowls such a good 1 or 2 balls, Abhishek, where he hits, it's unbelievable. When a new boy called Salil, when he came, hit the 6, it's unbelievable. You don't think caliber of Bumrah comes and bowls, and a young boy will hit a 6 because he will think about how am I going to survive. Nowadays, no. How am I going to hit a 6? That's their approach. It's all about their approach and their confidence levels are gone up because people have showed this is the way to play the modern game, and the youngsters are following that.
All right, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas. But as always, we will keep getting you analysis from India and across the world. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Bye-bye.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
No SUV is too big here. No adventure motorcycle too advanced. Man's ego is of no use in Ladakh. To drive here is to see your life in perspective, to be reminded that there's always time.
Then I figured that if not now, when?
To take the long way, to define your own life.
I keep on reminding myself, why did you leave your job? Don't make this your job.
Coming up this week on WION Drive at these times.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
The next few days are going to be intense.
भाई हमें अपना जाल बली खिलाओ.
A number of allegations and accusations being made by both parties.
हम लड़ेंगे, बांग्ला जीतेंगे.
इस बार बंगाल में भी कमल खिलना तय है.
5.73 crore voters in the state will get to determine who is going to rule Tamil Nadu next.
In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION. World is One. 5 states, one powerful voice. From Tamil Nadu to West Bengal. From Kerala to Assam. Every vote shapes the future. Get the election pulse only on WION. WION, India's global voice. The channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is One.
In this rapidly changing world, is your health keeping pace? Best practices and breakthroughs busting the hype with real insights. The timeless power of yoga and ancient healing. Good food, good mood. Small steps, big impact. Your health matters. Only on WION World is One. Because nothing matters more.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION.
In West Asia, every move shifts the world's balance. Wars, ceasefires, alliances, power never stands still. From Tehran to Tel Aviv, from Damascus to Doha, the West Asia Post cuts through the chaos to reveal the region that shapes the world. Because what happens in West Asia never stays in West Asia. This is the West Asia Post, the region's story, the world's impact.
Get the latest updates.
Destroy their
Breaking
missiles
news.
and raise their...
Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is One.
The next few days are going to be intense.
भाई हमें अपना जाल बली खिलाओ.
A number of allegations and accusations being made by both parties.
हम लड़ेंगे, बांग्ला जीतेंगे.
इस बार बंगाल में भी कमल खिलना तय है.
5.73 crore voters in the state will get to determine who is going to rule Tamil Nadu next.
In this rapidly changing world, is your health keeping pace? Best practices and breakthroughs busting the hype with real insights. The timeless power of yoga and ancient healing. Good food, good mood. Small steps, big impact. Your health matters. Only on WION World is One. Because nothing matters more.
विनायक नूर